Hi, this is Alex Fernandez with Bud and Doug Walters Auto Sales in Kalamazoo, Michigan. Today I'll be doing a video going over the primary features on this 2017 Subaru Outback Limited. We'll begin by talking about the touchscreen display here in the dash along with the buttons alongside of it. We'll work our way down to the climate control settings here below. Then some buttons here in our center console. Over to the steering wheel and the buttons along it. The stalks behind the steering wheel, along with our gauge cluster and the screen in the middle. We've got some switches here to our left as well, and we'll finish up with some buttons up above us there. Starting with the touchscreen display, this is where we will interact with any audio, as well as pairing up a phone, navigation, and backup camera. This page we're seeing right now is the home page. We access that with that button there to the left. And that gives us access to all the primary functions here of the vehicle. You'll see we have map, audio, phone, apps, info, and settings. To enter into one of those sections, simply press on its icon and it'll open that section for you. First thing here is audio. You'll see we have different choices of our audio source, AM, FM, satellite, and Bluetooth available. And there are a few others that are grayed out right now just because there's nothing connected or available to select those choices. We'll go to FM radio just for example here. Along the left side of the screen we'll have your presets. You can scroll through 36 of those in total. The reason they give you so many is because you're able to mix and match AM, FM, and satellite stations all within the same list, rather than having to switch back and forth between the different sources to access those presets. To set your station, we can use either our seek buttons here to change the station, or our tuning dial up in the top right. Once you've selected a station, if you'd like to save it as a preset, simply press and hold and wait for the beep, and you'll see that it has now populated that section there. Along the top of the screen we have our settings for the audio, so high definition radio, which is just a clearer, crisper signal when it's available. We have our source button to cycle through those different available sources. Along the bottom we have scan. We have a list button which will compile a list of FM stations and show them on a list basically, and allow you to sort by genre as well. And in the bottom right hand corner we have our sound settings. Gives you your bass, your mid-range, your treble, along with fade and balance there. Volume for the audio is this dial on the left side, and if you push the dial in, that's going to be the power or mute button basically for the audio for you. Going back to the home page, we'll go to phone next. You'll see there are no phones paired, and it's asking if we would like to add one now. For the sake of this video, we're not going to add one, but when you go to connect your phone, we would select yes to this prompt, and then open the Bluetooth settings on your compatible phone and search for the vehicle name in your settings. Oftentimes it'll be something like car multimedia or something to that effect, but the vehicle will tell you which name it is so you know what to look for. Once you've paired the phone to the car, it will sync up and download your contacts and your call history. That way when someone calls you from your contacts list, you'll see who it is that's calling you. You're able to answer or decline those phone calls with a button either on the steering wheel here on the left side, answer and hang up or decline, as well as on the screen we would have a prompt coming up with the option to answer or decline the call. Moving on to the next section is map. You'll see a map display just coming up when we open that. To plug in a place to go or a destination, simply press menu in the bottom left and then press destination there on the right side. Type in find address, and then you can go through this template here as you need to. Whether you need to change the state, you can do so there, and then you have city, street name, and then it would ask us for house number down there. And once you've done all that, it will show you the route and give the option to start that navigation route to that address for you. We can also search for points of interest such as gas stations, parking spots, restaurants, hotels, things of that nature. And you're also able to save a home address if you'd like to, so you have that always accessible. Moving on to the next section, apps here. Within this apps section, probably the only things that most people would want to use are things like AHA or Pandora, which are internet radio applications that would be run on a smartphone that is connected to the vehicle via USB cable. You're able to perform the same functionality through Bluetooth wirelessly as well, as long as you have the AHA or Pandora apps on your phone. So I recommend going that route instead, as it's a little easier to work with. Under info, this top row here, sports, weather, stocks, and fuel, are linked to satellite radio subscription. So if you don't subscribe to satellite radio, you wouldn't have access to those things. If you do, then they're available to you. We also have vehicle monitor here, which shows us a couple things. We see engine oil temperature, the percentage that we're pressing the accelerator pedal. See that there. Vehicle mode. So if we were to change the mode here to X mode, which is a button used for off-road scenarios here, and that's right there. That displays that there. But we also have elapsed time of the current drive and our average speed for trip A. Going back, we have Eco Monitor, which is just a way to get a little idea of your fuel usage and your fuel history. So over the life of the vehicle, the average miles per gallon, range, how far we can drive with the amount of gas in the vehicle, instant miles per gallon, which will show you at any given moment what gas mileage you're getting. We have fuel history, which is a 30-minute history that it tracks. You're able to see what kind of gas mileage you're getting over a 30-minute period. And then again, we have that elapsed time and average speed for trip A there. The last thing is maintenance, and you're able to set reminders for specific maintenance items depending on the intervals at which they are required. Last icon there is settings, and that gives us settings for some of the functions of the vehicle, such as our phone, our audio, Bluetooth for the hands-free calling, vehicle customization for any vehicle settings we want to change, such as door locks, lights, things like that. And those are all things that can be tailored to your liking depending on what your preferences are. Moving on from the screen down to the climate control, we have dual zone climate control in this vehicle. So we have a dial here for driver temperature and a dial here for passenger temperature. Counterclockwise for colder and clockwise for warmer. And you'll see when I'm changing the driver's dial that both temperature zones are being adjusted. We are able to separate them simply by changing the passenger temperature. And you'll see that that turns on dual mode here, which means they're able to be independently adjusted without affecting each other. Within the driver's temperature control, we have the auto button, which lets you set the temperature, and it takes care of the fan speed, the location, and everything else for you. We have an off switch for the climate control here. Our air conditioning, which you'll see displayed there. Our recirculate mode there. That dual mode. Mode button in the middle allows us to change where the air is being sent to. We have our fan speed here, left and right, to increase or decrease. And then we have our front defroster, our rear defroster, along with heated side view mirrors. And then inside the passenger dial, we have the max AC button, which is simply a shortcut to turn the temperature all the way down and turn the fan speed all the way up and turn on the air conditioning and recirculate modes all at once, which is with a single press of that button. The other things we have available here, we have heated seats for driver and passenger with high, medium, and low settings. And we also have plus and minus button here to adjust the clock as needed. Looking back at the center console now, we have our parking brake, which is electronic. Pull up on it to engage it, and put your foot on the brake pedal and push on the top to disengage. We have that X mode, which again is only going to be used in very specific off-road scenarios. Most people will never need to use it, as the all-wheel drive system of this vehicle is very capable and will handle pretty much any driving condition it comes across. There is one other button in the center console here on the right side, which is a hill holder function. So if you're on a steep grade, the vehicle will apply the parking brake if your foot is on the brake pedal, just to hold you in place as well. You can turn that on or off depending on where you're driving, how steep the grades are of the road. Looking at the steering wheel here, we have our cruise control settings and a couple of the safety systems of the vehicle. To use the cruise control, simply press this button here. It's your on-off switch. And you'll see a display appear in the gauge cluster indicating it's been turned on. To set the speed, simply click that stalk down to set the speed. Click up to resume, click down to slow down. There are 2 clicks per button here, so if we click up once, we can click up again. And that allows you to change the speed in 5 mile an hour or 1 mile an hour increments. This vehicle is also equipped with adaptive cruise control, which means it can regulate the distance between the vehicles in front of you by slowing down and speeding up accordingly. Using this button here, top and bottom, we can adjust the gap we'd like to maintain with vehicles in front of us, 1 bar being the closest distance and 4 bars being the greatest. The idea being, if traffic slows, your vehicle will slow as well to maintain with the flow of traffic. This button here is going to function as our lane keep assist system. So if you have clearly marked road lines on the street and you drift out of your lane, the vehicle will attempt to nudge you back into the lane if this system is turned on. Again, there would be an icon present in the gauge cluster there if it's turned on, and you can use that at your discretion. On the left side of the wheel, we have volume up and down with the plus and minus. We have left and right buttons, which would cycle through our presets on the radio. In the middle, we have a mute button. This button here looks just like the list button that we had on the steering wheel, or on the screen, which it is. It's the same button. It's able to open that list from the steering wheel, and then we have a back button if we were to be in a particular menu, and we push that back button just like we have up in the top right-hand corner of the screen. Down beneath that, we have a source button to cycle through AM, FM, and satellite radio, along with Bluetooth or CD, whatever else is available. We have the phone buttons for answering or hanging up and declining a call. We have our voice command button here, which allows us to press that and say a contact name along with a command to call. So you could say call John Smith, for example. And if John Smith is one of your contact names, it will dial his number for you. Down below here, we have 3 buttons kind of on the back side, and those pull from the back to be used. You have 2 arrows and a set and information button. That allows us to cycle through the information displayed at the top of the gauge cluster. We have a compass display, digital speed, time and distance of current drive, distance to empty and current miles per gallon, average miles per gallon for your trips, and then a blank page. And the last one is a settings menu, which requires us to hold this switch in the middle down, and you can change things like what units you're using and things like that. Looking at the stalks behind the steering wheel, we have our windshield wipers here. Click that stalk up for a single swipe. Click down for intermittent, which you can then adjust using that ring there. Click down again for low speed, and once more for high speed. Rear wiper, simply rotate the end of the stalk. We have the off position, the intermittent position, and the on position there. To spray the washer for the front, pull the stalk towards you, and to spray the washer for the rear, rotate the stalk either all the way down to the very bottom, if you can see that there. Rotate all the way to the bottom or all the way up to the top right there, and hold it for as long as you'd like it to spray. On the left side stalk, we have our headlight controls, which are automatic, which means they will come on as soon as it's dark enough outside, and in the meantime you'll have running lights so you're visible to other drivers during the day. We also have fog lights. Those fog lights will be tied to the automatic function as well, so when the headlights come on, the fog lights will as well. Your blinkers are here as well, along with our brights. The brights are automatic in this vehicle, so you'll see just down there a little A. What that means is the brights will be on so long as there's not another vehicle approaching you, another light source coming at you. So as soon as the vehicle comes at you and the car can see its lights, it will turn your high beams off and turn them back on once they've gotten out of the way and you've passed them. To use that, simply push that away from you to put those in the on position. If you need to flash your brights, you're still able to do so by pulling that stalk towards you. We have our trip and reset button here, and that cycles through our trip A and trip B in the odometer. We press it a single time to cycle through A and B and hold it to reset it if necessary. Looking at the door, we have 2 presets for that driver's seat position. We can save seating position in one of 2 slots there in case there are more than one driver in the vehicle regularly. To do so, simply adjust your seat as necessary, press the set button, and press the number you'd like to use afterwards. Here we have our window switches, our door locks, our window locks, and our mirror adjustments. Simply rotate the joystick to the right or to the left to choose the mirror, and then move that like a joystick to adjust it. Looking down on the dash here, we have a handful of buttons. We have the power liftgate button here, which opens and closes that rear powered liftgate. We have an off switch for our steering responsive fog lights. So the fog lights, when turned on, will follow the wheels, basically. So when you turn your wheels, the fog lights will follow it and point light in the direction of where you're turning. Next to that, we have a memory height setting for the rear liftgate. So if you were a shorter person or had a shorter ceiling in your garage or whatever the case might be, that would allow you to adjust the height of the liftgate and turn that button on, and then you'd have the height adjusted and saved, basically. Next to that, we have a scroll wheel here to adjust the brightness of the backlighting for our gauges and everything. And down below, we have the off switch for the traction control, which is on by default every time you start the vehicle. We have the off switch for our blind spot monitoring and the side view mirrors. The off switch for our lane departure warning. So again, with clearly marked road lines, if you drift out of your lane, it would beep at you to indicate that you've done so, just to get your attention back. And the last one is an off switch for the forward collision braking. So if you were coming up on slower vehicles or stopped traffic and not slowing down, the vehicle would alert you and intervene with braking if necessary. Looking up above here, we have underneath the rear view mirror, we have 3 programmable home link buttons here. You can save your garage door opener to one of those 3, so you don't have to keep the remote in the car with you. Up above, we have our dome lights here. We have the switch that tells the dome lights to turn on when a door is open and shut off when it's closed. And then we have the tilt up and down function for the sunroof, along with the ability to open it and close it back all the way. We do have an SOS and an information button here on this panel as well. And those are part of the Subaru Starlink system, which is a service they offer as a subscription-based service that enables things like emergency roadside calling and things like that. That's a subscription-based service. Again, if you're interested, that's something that can be pursued further as well. Those are the primary features of this 2017 Subaru Outback Limited. If you have any further questions, please refer to us at waltersautos.com or feel free to call 269-375-7008. Thank you.